Tiffany Henyard, the mayor of Dalton, has become the focal point of a political crisis that has completely engulfed the once peaceful village. What was once a quiet and orderly community has now turned into a battlefield, with residents demanding Henyard's resignation due to an increasing number of scandals and controversies. The tension in Dalton is at an all-time high, as many citizens feel deeply betrayed by her leadership, particularly following a county judge's ruling that deemed some of her recent appointments illegal. This legal setback has only intensified the already volatile situation, with accusations of corruption growing louder and her management of village board meetings becoming more chaotic. Despite the mounting discontent, Henyard has refused to step down, defiantly holding on to power and even publicly mocking her critics in live TV broadcasts and public appearances. Her refusal to resign has only fueled public outrage, leading many residents to openly question her ability to govern effectively. To make matters worse, an FBI investigation into her administration looms, further adding to the turmoil consuming Dalton. The political situation appears to be spiraling out of control, leaving many wondering whether Henyard will continue her reckless pursuit of power or if this marks the beginning of the end of her controversial reign. In a dramatic act of defiance, Henyard has made it clear that she intends to stay in power, further stoking the flames of discontent. During a particularly heated public meeting, which had to be moved to the Park District building due to an overwhelming turnout of frustrated residents, Henyard took the stage to address the crowd. Boldly, she declared, "I am the mayor of this village. I see a real mayor, a real boss in the building." Instead of receiving applause, however, her words were met with loud boos and jeers, a clear sign of just how much support she has lost in the wake of her ongoing scandals. Once the heart of a close-knit and peaceful community, Dalton now finds itself at the center of a political firestorm that is shaking its leadership to the core. With Henyard refusing to step down and the community's patience wearing thin, the future of her tenure remains uncertain. Will she continue fueling the chaos and attempt to ride out the political storm, or is this the moment when her controversial reign finally unravels? The stakes are higher than ever, and Dalton's political future stands at a critical crossroads. The drama is far from over, and several new developments have only escalated the situation further. The state comptroller has suspended certain payments to the village due to Henyard's failure to submit necessary financial reports. This financial setback has deepened public anger and frustration, prompting more residents to attend board meetings in greater numbers, eager to voice their dissatisfaction. At these meetings, loud boos and public calls for Henyard's resignation have become increasingly frequent, making it clear that the political climate in Dalton is growing more heated by the day. The message from the community is crystal clear. They are fed up. Yet, instead of addressing their grievances and tackling the mounting issues, Henyard has chosen a defiant approach, mocking her critics and continuing to push the limits of her power. This strategy has only fueled the public's frustration, as residents feel increasingly unheard and disrespected. Henyard's recent public appearances have done little to calm the situation. At one particularly contentious board meeting, she made a dramatic entrance, grabbing the microphone in an attempt to assert her authority over the crowd. However, the response was not what she had hoped for. Many attendees turned their backs on her in protest, sending a silent but powerful message of disapproval. This moment was a clear illustration of the growing divide between Henyard and the very community she is supposed to serve. Meanwhile, her leadership is facing intense scrutiny in the courts, as legal challenges against her actions continue to mount. Allegations of misusing taxpayer money, appointing friends and allies to key government positions without proper approval, and openly defying court orders have cast a dark shadow over her time in office. A major turning point came when a county judge officially ruled that some of Henyard's appointments were illegal. Rather than complying with the court's decision, however, Henyard continued to test the limits of her authority, flaunting the law with apparent impunity. Her refusal to abide by the ruling has only further inflamed tensions, turning the situation into a full-scale legal and political battle. The mayor is now locked in an intense power struggle with the village trustees, who have taken legal action against her. These lawsuits accuse Henyard of overstepping her authority and abusing her position, adding yet another layer of conflict to the already chaotic governance of Dalton. The village has effectively become a battleground, with trustees and the mayor engaged in a fierce struggle for control. The ongoing legal battles have only fueled the public's growing unrest, leaving residents deeply concerned about the future of their community. The situation appears to be spiraling out of control, with no clear resolution in sight. Despite the immense pressure for her to step down, Henyard continues to resist calls for her resignation, doubling down on her leadership style, which many see as increasingly erratic and disconnected from the needs of the people she serves. As tensions escalate and the stakes continue to rise, it remains to be seen whether Henyard can weather this political storm or if Dalton will be forced to move forward without her. The drama in Dalton is far from over, and the coming days and weeks will likely determine the fate of Henyard's controversial reign. Will she defy the odds and hold on to power, or will the weight of mounting legal battles, public outrage, and political resistance finally bring an end to her leadership? One thing is certain: Dalton's political landscape will never be the same again. The village of Dalton is now deeply entrenched in a political crisis, with each new development raising the stakes higher than ever before. Mayor Tiffany Henyard remains at the center of the turmoil, facing mounting legal battles, public outrage, and political infighting. The question remains, will she continue to defy her critics and cling to power, or will the weight of legal challenges and growing opposition finally bring an end to her tumultuous tenure? While the outcome remains uncertain, one thing is clear: Dalton is experiencing a political earthquake, and the effects of Henyard's leadership will likely be felt for years to come. Despite court rulings against her, widespread public anger, and legal challenges, Henyard's resolve to stay in power remains unshaken. However, with the village divided, tensions escalating, and the legal system closing in, it is becoming increasingly unclear how much longer she can maintain her grip on Dalton's leadership. Many residents demand her resignation, citing allegations of corruption, mismanagement, and a blatant disregard for the law. Yet Henyard continues to press forward with her controversial decisions, seemingly undeterred by the rising opposition. Amid the chaos, she still retains a dedicated group of loyal supporters who argue that the backlash against her is politically motivated. They claim that her critics, especially village trustees, are engaged in a smear campaign fueled by personal grudges rather than genuine concerns about governance. However, even this unwavering support has not been enough to suppress the growing wave of dissent within Dalton. The community is starkly divided, with one faction believing that Henyard has severely damaged the village's governance, while the other sees her as a victim of a biased political system. This deep divide has turned village board meetings into chaotic battlegrounds, with heated confrontations between Henyard's supporters and critics. The escalating tension has further fractured Dalton, leaving the town in a state of political turmoil. As legal battles intensify and public frustration grows, it is clear that the village is at a crossroads. The future of its leadership is in serious doubt, and the question remains: will Henyard survive this storm, or is this the beginning of the end of her controversial reign? Regardless of the outcome, one thing is certain: Dalton will never be the same again. Adding to the controversy are serious allegations concerning Henyard's management of Dalton's finances, an issue that has sparked widespread public fury. Reports suggest that she used taxpayer funds for lavish trips and personal expenses, even as the village struggles with severe budget cuts and financial hardships. These accusations have only intensified public anger, particularly as many community programs face funding shortages while Henyard's spending habits allegedly remain unchecked. Further compounding the crisis are rumors that Henyard diverted funds from essential community programs to finance personal projects, deepening the community's distrust in her leadership. While concrete evidence is still being gathered, the mere suspicion of financial mismanagement has created an atmosphere of uncertainty and outrage. In response, residents have demanded an independent audit to uncover any potential misuse of public funds, hoping to bring clarity and transparency to the situation. At a recent meeting in Thornton Township, tensions reached a boiling point as trustees and citizens demanded answers from Henyard. Her refusal to provide clear financial reports has only fueled suspicions, leaving residents frustrated and distrustful of her administration. The demand for transparency is growing louder, but Henyard's dismissive attitude has only escalated the hostility, further alienating the very people she was elected to serve. However, Henyard's troubles are no longer confined to Dalton alone. Neighboring communities have started taking notice of the scandal. Some fear that her Controversial leadership could have broader implications for the entire region, potentially damaging Dalton's reputation and its relationships with surrounding towns, local businesses, and state agencies. This growing political fallout has left the area in a state of uncertainty, raising concerns about the village's long-term stability. The pressure on Henyard is mounting. Legal battles, public outrage, and allegations of financial mismanagement are threatening to bring her tenure to an end. Yet, despite the overwhelming opposition, Henyard remains defiant, refusing to step down even as calls for her resignation grow louder. Her unwillingness to acknowledge public concerns has only deepened the anger and distrust within the community. Now more than ever, residents are questioning whether she is fit to lead. As the crisis continues to unfold, the future of Dalton's leadership hangs in the balance. Will Henyard finally succumb to the weight of legal and political pressure, or will she fight to maintain her hold on power, regardless of the consequences? One thing is certain: the drama in Dalton is far from over, and the stakes have never been higher.